Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. And I think I've got volume here, so let's get rid of that. I am having a great day. We are sunny here, so I'm kind of liking that. And yeah, I got my project done, which is good because I was away. So we're just going to wait for people to join. And then we're going to get started on what I created there. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? Wow, it seems like it's been forever since I did a YouTube, and I'm feeling, or did a video, and I'm feeling a little lost, but it'll all come back. There we are. There we go. Get the volume off of that too. I was trying to get, hi, Debbie. Hi, Maria. So this is the YouTube Hop for Country Craft Creation featuring the Country Craft Creation collection, Remember the Time. And I don't have all the sheets to show you because I used them to create my project. I don't even have the cover sheet because the sheets I used, I got when I was down in Utah for the fall retreat. So just bear with me. You've seen it before. It's all good. Hello, Miss Tanya. Hello, Linda. Anyway, so we're going to do a walkthrough first, just so you have an idea what we're creating. Hi, Sheila. And what I will tell you is this is a card organizer. I had a request to do an organizer, and I went, what better paper to do it with than Remember the Time? And it turned out, actually, I really like it. I really like the way it turned out. So we'll first talk about the size of the album. It is 6.5 by 8, and it has a spine that is 3 3/4 inches deep. And if everything stays where it needs to be. Now, for the front cover, I had these corners in my stash, and I thought they were perfect for the project. I did use the Heartfelt Album and Tags accent die set that Tammy does have in the store, or at least the last time I looked it was in the store. And I used that to make these 2 tags. And then what I did for the cover is I had these roses from Graphic 45, so they're the red ones. And I thought, you know, they'll look perfect on the front of this album. And then what I did is I took the cut apart sheet that comes with the collection. So there's one cut apart sheet for each month. And I punched out some of the circles, or you could cut them by hand, fussy cut them. And then I punched out a black piece of artisan to go behind it. And the same with my tag. I used the 2 pieces. And if you were with me when I did my last video, I was in awe of this tag set because it's so perfect. You know what, Maria? I haven't really looked at the other projects, but the few I did, I went, we all took it in different directions. And you know what? That it just means that we're all different and we all have our own ideas. And I think they all turned out amazing. So going back to the die set, so I used the tag and I used both pieces of it because I want my tag to be on Black Artisan. So that's the one thing I use that you can get in the store. It's the Heartfelt Album and Tag Accent die set. And if you don't have this one, you absolutely need to get it because it's even got corners. I could have used the corners that came, that cut out corners from the die and use them. So like I say, it's got lots of options. And then you'll see in a few minutes, I also use the G45 stamp collection. Now mine is cut in half because I want it to fit in one of my wonderful little pockets here. And I think it goes like this. And so it has the months full and then the months abbreviated. I use the abbreviated ones for this project, and you'll see how I use them in a minute. But this is also available in the store right now. So please make sure to check out those two things. And the only thing I didn't check before I started today was whether there were any red roses still in the store. I believe there are, but I could be wrong with that. Tiffany, I love that die. You know what, Maria? This design team is incredible. It has the most supportive members. Everybody's there to help you if you're having an issue. It's an amazing design team. Couldn't ask to be in a better place. So I'm just going to take out my punch because that was sort of what was holding it up. So I described the front to you, and then I did this on the spine. So I just a pattern piece of paper, and then I took a couple of the stickers, just random from the different months, because it says admit 1, kissing booth, trick or treat, Easter egg hunt. And I thought for a card organizer, what better way to explain it than to be able to see, oh, right, it's for the months. And then I just left the back really, really plain. Now, the other thing I should mention is on the front, I did mat my pattern paper on a piece of artisan, and then I adhered it to the book. Hi, David. So nice that you could join us from the UK. We are. Some parts of British Columbia are not. We've had a lot of way too much rain, but we're good. We actually have sunshine right now, so that's kind of nice. So inside, it's a very easy, it's a repetitive pattern. I didn't put anything on the front inside cover or the back inside cover because I thought this is a functional album. We're going to be putting cards in it. I don't want anything getting caught up on anything that's over here on the front of the album. So I kept it basic and simple. So every pocket or every page has this little accordion pocket. So you've got a generous space here to add your cards that you might want to keep for your January events. And like I say, some of us maybe only need one card for a January, but others might have multiples. And then I decided I would create a little element to stick in behind the word that says January. So I mounted the word January on some black artisan. And then I also took one of the strips that comes on the cut apart sheet, and I laid it underneath it. So I'd adhered the pattern paper to the artisan mat. Then I laid down my strip, and then I only put glue on 3 sides of this tag to make myself this little pocket where this stuff can sit inside. And I just thought it kind of made a cute element. I did pop the 3x4, or I think it's a little less than 3x4 element onto a piece of artisan, but the other pieces, I just adhered them and thought that was the easiest way. Didn't want to create a lot of bulk for the pocket because, of course, it doesn't expand all that much. Hi, Cindy. So nice you could join us. So there is our January. Plain, simple. You know me, less is more. And then you flip to the back, and this is February. And I sort of just went with it. Whatever I thought would look nice on my little card is what I added to it. So I'm going to show them all to you because we're not matting this. And again, this is all the same. I took one of the strips that was on the cut aparts, glued it to the pocket first, and then put the little February tag, only putting adhesive on 3 sides. So there is our February. And here is March. It says Blarney Stone, find happiness in rainbows. And it slides right in there. Try to do this slowly so you can see. And there's our April. And there's the little ephemera that I put on it. Hello, Miss Tanya. You're like in 2 places today. Cool. It is. Remember, you're supposed to like and subscribe. Don't forget that part. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. It helps me get further up in the little rankings. And if you like it, that does the same thing. So please make sure you do all of those things so people can find what I create. So there's our April. And May is similar to April. All that I am, I owe to my mother. And that's where I was. I was visiting my mom back in Ontario and had a great visit with her. It's nice to see her. And then we're going to flip to June. And again, just a ticket. And you know what? Fussy cutting is stressless. This paper is just so smooth to cut. It is incredible. Hello, Jennifer. Nice that you could join us. And Tracy, hopefully I'm saying hello to everybody. This is July. So July 4th, and the girl and the boy. Love the puppy dog. So it's just a repeating pattern with room for all those cards we have on hand. And I see Tanya is putting down the flowers. Tanya, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm also using Hylanet, the G45 stamp collection, and that heartfelt album and tag accent. And for August, a ticket and the cat, which I thought was kind of cute. And then September, it says, all at once summer collapses into fall. Isn't that right? It is. Hi, Diane. So glad you could join us today. And then October, got to say Halloween. And it says it's all just a bunch of hocus pocus. And then November, there is always something for which to be thankful. I love the little guy riding on the turkey. And then our December. Merry Christmas. Believe in the magic of the season. Hi, Marguerite. So nice that you could join us. So like I say, and then go back to the front. In the top, what I created, and again, I kept it simple. It just says January. And it's on a piece of cardstock that's 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. Idea being, you can write down the dates of birthdays or anniversaries or whatever it is you have to remember. And so you have that handy. So January on one side, February on the other. And the nice thing about it not being matted is, let's say you fill this all up and you want to do a new one. If you have these G45 stamps, you can make as many as you need. You could even have January on the front and back and then February on another one, because there's more than enough room. Let me get 2 of them here. There's more than enough room for 2 of them to slide into that pocket, like so. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. I kind of was, when I was creating it, I kept going, have I gone too simple here? Maybe I should have put more bells and whistles into it. But I went, it's a card organizer. We don't want to have a lot of stuff catching on everything. We want to keep it, as I call it, simple. And we want to keep it flat, because you're going to have cards in these pockets. They're going to take up the bulk. They're going to take up the bulk, make the album bulky. So that's why there's 5/8 of an inch gussets too. So if I keep talking, we'll never get this going. And that's what we need to do. Just going to slide these back in. And like the other thing I'll say about this too, these stamps are quite generous, because the stamped image is about, I'm going to say 5/8 of an inch. That's how tall it is. So it's just a nice size. And that's always my thing about card organizers. You know, they might put it in the front where you organize the dates, but then it's eventually going to be filled up. You know what, David? So I got to see this paper when I was at the retreat in October. And it's one of those papers that it's got so many beautiful graphics. You don't want to hide them, but you've got to work with it, right? So I just kept thinking, what could I do with this paper that was going to sing to me? And I had a lady say to me, have you ever made a card organizer? Well, I've made a card organizer box, but I've never made a card organizer album that you could actually put on your shelf. And there it would be, ready to go. So if that answers that question, David, I often don't know where I'm going to take my project until I actually have the paper out and start cutting it. And to be honest with you, I didn't have this project finished until last night because, like I said, I was at my mom's and I thought I was going to have more time to play with paper. Well, I didn't. So some of this came last night. And you know what? Sometimes when you're working under pressure, it's the best way to do things. So let's set this one aside. Let's get into the construction. I'd like your thoughts on, do you want me to construct all 6 pages? Because it is a repeat pattern. I don't mind doing that, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bore you to death. I did post in Country Craft Creations the cutting guide. It's really easy because it is that repeating pattern. These would make great Christmas gifts and they'd be fast to make. So you know those people that love to send cards? Wouldn't this make an awesome Christmas gift? Just saying. Hi, Tina. So let me flip my mess over here. Let me put my instructions where I'm going to be able to read them and put my book close by in case I need to check anything out. So the covers are 6.5. So the chipboard is 6.5 by 8. And to speed things up, I've already put my adhesive on the back of them, so the score tape. And then my spine measures 3 3/4 by 8, and I've also done the same to that. So remember, when we get rolling, we want to make sure. Hi, Sharon. I think that's who it is. How are you? And Denise. So I'm just burnishing it again. This is my new favorite tool. It came while I was away. And it's Teflon. And it's weighted. Love it. So there is our... Oh, we need the banner gone? Oh, yes. Thank you very much, Tanya. I appreciate that because I get rolling and then I all of a sudden go, oh, yeah, that's still on the screen. It'll be gone in a second. Hi, Charlene. You know what? It's a Teflon bone folder. Yeah, I really actually quite like it. All right, so let's get rolling here. So we need some cardstock. So we need 2 pieces that are 8.5 by 10, and that's going to be for the front cover and the back cover. You know what, Maria? Yes, I totally hear that because all the projects that all the designers have made for this event, they are all unique. They are all just an amazing idea for Christmas gifts. And like I said before, we've got a talented design team here. All right. Let me get my tool. And oh, yes, I better apologize now. So my husband received a load of wood yesterday. And unfortunately, it is out the same side of the house as this room is on. So I'm hoping when he starts using the chainsaw again, you guys are not going to hear the chainsaw, please let me know. And if it is a huge issue, I will go and say, can you do that later, please? But since it's such a nice day, if he can cut it up today, that'll be a good thing because we're expecting more rain. So let's burnish it well. And I am using white cardstock this time. I used craft when I made my sample, and I quite like the craft, but I thought just for a little interest, I would change it up for white. Because I don't know, I don't have enough of the Remember the Time. Well, you know what, I probably do have enough to do another. Yeah, I probably do, because I didn't receive, it was whatever Tammy had for her project at the Utah retreat, because I didn't get any more of it. Exactly, David. And that is exactly right. It's a good day for him to cut this wood, and we need it cut so it can get stacked. So we're going to cut out our corners like we always do. And this is the same binding or the same cover system that Tammy uses. Several of the designers use this one. I love it. I love the finished look of it. It's probably my favorite of all the ways I've ever covered an album or made the cover for an album. I so wish my comments would stay up so I don't have to keep bringing them back. No, I don't think so, Jennifer. Tanya, do you know anything about that? The question is someone taking Jen's place today since her video aired yesterday? I don't want to miss any. No, I don't think so, because Tammy and I were the only two that were going live. Everybody else was recorded. And so you guys just got to see it a day early. So we're going to miter the 4 tabs. And that's just to get some of the bulk out of the way. It's like when I came on today, when I went to Facebook. Yeah, that's what I thought. So it was just an accident. So you haven't missed anything. You just got the bonus of seeing it a day early. And one more. Here we go. Get rid of all the bits and pieces. Get the glue out. Oh, was it, Tanya? Like I say, since I've been home, it's been so crazy around here that feel like I'm behind. But that's okay. That's what happens. You know, you go away and then you end up with twice as much to do when you come home. So I'm adding my art glitter glue right to the edge. So I'm putting it right up against the edge of the chipboard. And then we're going to add it to the 1-inch tab that we've mitered. And I always like to do either the sides first or the top and bottom first. So today I'm doing the top and bottom. And remember, burnish it well. And like you've heard me say before, Ah, okay. I thought I saw something about that, but like I say, it's been crazy. It must be a sign I'm getting old because I really found when I came home this time that 3-hour time change was tough. So, but that's okay. It was worth every second of feeling a little tired because I hadn't seen my mom since February of 2019, I guess. That my math is right. So it was good to see her. She's doing amazing. I hope I'm doing half as well as she is when I'm 87. Still lives in her own house, still drives, you know. And we're doing the sides now. The other one. So has everybody been able to keep up with everything? Like, are you guys making it now, or are you watching and then going to go back and make things? So there's one cover. Just going to set it aside. So we're going to get our other piece of cardstock out. And I think I gave you the measurements. It was 8.5 by 10 by 10. And I'm going to lay in my spacers. And remember, Tammy has these in the store. If you haven't acquired a pair yet, you so need to. They really do help with our projects. Like I always say, you don't need a lot of tools, but make sure the tools you have are what you need for the project. Watching, making, yeah, that's a good idea there, Jennifer, to make your list and then go back. And remember, these stay recorded. They're not going anywhere. Oh, yes. You know what, Tracy? I always suggest you watch because I try really hard to make sure that everything is correct in my cutting guide, but we're all human and sometimes it happens. Yes, Tanya, there were 15 projects made with this collection. And I think that is just so awesome. Like, you got to see how 15 different minds took it in different directions. So we're folding over our 1-inch tabs. And I deliberately tried not to watch any of the other projects because I didn't want to be influenced by anything. Mind you, I was talking to a couple of designers last night, and I was saying to them, what do you think of this idea or that idea? And everybody is so generous. Well, David, it stays recorded, so can't wait to see. So I just hear the chainsaw starting because I also hear my crazy girl, as I call her. She's a Heeler Kelpie cross, and she thinks that anything that's got a motor in it is something she should bark at. So please let me know if that is too loud. And then I will have to go and say, could you mind stopping? So we're mitering all 4 corners. And remember, you could make this during the holidays for yourself and have it ready to go for January 1. Actually, you could make all of these projects for yourself and have them ready to go for January 1. Just mitering all of our 1-inch tabs. Okay, thank you, Maria. I don't think it's that loud, but I'm never sure just what the mic picks up. So again, let's get started. So we're going to add adhesive right along the edge of the chipboard on the cardstock. Then add it. And I'm sure you guys all know what the point of adding it to the right along the edge of the chipboard. It's to soften those fibers so that when we're folding over our 1-inch tabs, we're hopefully not going to end up with any cracking. And turn. Anybody got their Christmas shopping finished? You can't hear Alice? Okay, can everybody else hear me? Because nobody else is saying. Could you have your volume turned down on your device, Alice? So Debbie, you got your Christmas shopping done? Good for you. Maria, you can't hear either. Kim says she can hear. So I wonder if it's something with YouTube, because the people that are telling me they can't hear. Okay, so no, T. Morris says she can hear me. So I'm going to, I don't know, Maria, you might have to go out and come back in. Sometimes, you know, it's technology. And we've got the 2 sides. Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you. Yes, because I had posed that question. There's a slight delay. Yes, okay, because I thought, oh no, what's going on with the technology today? If you can't hear me, because you always worry about those things, right, when you're doing a live. But like I always say, I like lives because you get to see the good parts of it, and you get to see if I have to fix something because I've made an oops. Because making an oops is part of everything we do. Well, thank you, Jennifer. I quite like these nails too. I had them done while I was away. And the young lady that did them did a fine job. Okay, so we've got our front and back covers are done, which is great. And Tanya, thank you for welcoming the people that have just joined us. So now we need the cardstock that we're going to cover the piece of spine chipboard with. So it was 3 3/4 by 8. So we need a piece of cardstock to cover it that is going to measure 6 3/4 by 10. And so the easiest way to explain how I got 3 3/4 to 6 3/4, and it was the epiphany moment I had one time when Tammy was doing a video and I was watching her. You need to add, so my chipboard piece is 3 3/4. I needed 1.5 inch piece on my cardstock on the left-hand side And I also need a 1.5 inch piece for my wings, right, on either side. So if my chipboard is 3 3/4, I add 3 inches to it. That's how I get 6 3/4. So I don't sit here going, oh yeah, I need 1.5 inches and then I need 3 3/4 inches. I know my chipboard is 3 3/4. I need an inch and a half on the right, 1.5 inches on the left of the cardstock for the wings. So I add 3 inches. Doesn't matter. If this measurement was 5, I would add 3 inches to it, and that would make it 8. So it's a really simple way to remember it. And then, like I say, with the spacers, you've already got your 1.5 inch. You need your 1 inch for the top. Just gonna put that one away. And I already have my adhesive on the back of it. We'll give it another burnish, even though I know I burnished it already. And we're going to remove the backing. And I didn't use sheets because I'm trying to use up some of my rolls because I don't use nearly as much cardstock as I once did. Well, thanks, Lynn. You know what, Lynn? You'll know exactly which ones you're going to want to make. So again, I'm just pushing my cardstock or my chipboard right up to my spacer at the top and on the left-hand side. I'm going to remove my spacers and we're done with these now. And we're just basically going to do some of it the same and some of it different. So we're going to fold over our cardstock. And as I've said in other videos, when I fold over my cardstock, I like to use my chipboard as my guide. And then we're going to fold the wings. And fold the other wing. Hi, Sandy. Glad you could join us. And we're folding it back on itself now. Because remember, we want this wing to realize that it's going to fold open and close. Okay, so now we're going to cut out our 4 rectangles. Because that's what it creates. So I cut up to the X, or where the 2 folds meet. Don't want to cut through it. Because if you do, then you're going to see the edge of the chipboard. And that's not what we want to do. Especially with the white artisan. It's not as forgiving as, let's say, the craft is. And 2 more. And we're going to do our mitering next. Actually, we're not going to do our mitering next. We are actually going to take our piece of cardstock. So I've got it, what I call the good side, facing up. This is what I refer to the bad side, and this is the good side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, actually I'm going to use this one. I'm going to take my bone folder. And what I'm doing is I'm running it right along the edge of the chipboard. Because I want to get a little indent down so that when I attach the front and back cover to the spine, it knows where I want to put it. Because it'll just fall down into place. So I'll just burnish that really well. And we'll burnish it again. So on this one, all we are going to do is we are only to start with, we're just going to miter the 1 inch tab that's at the top and the 1 inch tab that's at the bottom. And I make a hot mess when I try to use our glitter glue to attach my front and back covers. So I'm going to use my dry adhesive, which I'm going to get out now to do this. So let's give this another little burnish. So we're going to know where we want to put that dry adhesive. And I'm going to use what I find first, and this will work. So I'm about a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge of that chipboard. So as soon as I lay this one down, I kind of lift it up so you can see better. So when you look at it, there's the edge of the chip or the cardstock as I'm folding it over the chipboard. So I'm leaving about a 1/16 of an inch. So we're going to put another one right along the edge of the wing. And then we're going to do the other side, doing it exactly the same way. You know what, Jennifer? I love this style of making album covers now. I was never a fan of the look that you got when you did it all in one run. And with this, I just think I get a cleaner look. It kind of looks more book-like to me. But again, that's a personal preference. Doesn't make one way right and one way wrong. Thanks, Jennifer. Sorry, Debbie, that I didn't see that. I'm watching comments on YouTube and I'm watching comments on Facebook, and sometimes I miss things. So I appreciate everybody that steps in and will throw out an answer, because like I say, sometimes I miss it. And again, I'm just giving it a good burnish on my score tape. And now I am going to miter my 1.5 inch wings. So a slight miter on the other side. And I always like to, when I miter, I always like to cut away from the chipboard. Not cutting down to the chipboard, but away. So like in this case, there's the chipboard. I lay my scissors up against it and I just pivot them a little bit and cut. So on this side, I'm going to turn it over because again, I want my scissors resting up against the chipboard, pivot and miter. So I flipped it again. There we go. It just takes out a little bulk. All right, so now let's adhere our 1 inch tabs at the top and the bottom of the spine piece, just like we did when we were adhering the cardstock on the front and back cover. So I ran a bead of art glitter glue along my chipboard, and I always like to pull it. Yes, we are, Jennifer. And that's the other thing I love about the Country Craft Creations community. People are so generous with their talent and are so kind and are willing to pitch in and help. It's just an amazing community. I'll pull it down and burnish. Except when you have too much glue, which I sometimes get. All right, so we're going to give this a little burnish again. So I'm reinforcing the fact that I want this cardstock to lay down along the edge of my chipboard, like so. And then I'm going to bring my covers back in. It doesn't matter which cover I start with. And I'm going to use my scoreboard as one of my tools to help me keep things straight. So we're just going to do a quick little dry fit here. I'm pretty sure we're good, and we are. So I'm going to remove the adhesive from my the backing from my dry adhesive. There we go. And then what I like to do is I like to lay my cover on my spine. And then I just like to drag it over and plop it down. And then I always take a little look to see if I'm still happy that everything is nice and even, which it is. So I'm hoping you can see that. Yes, when I look over at my computer, because that's what you want. You want it to be flush with the spine. So let's do the other side. And again, we're going to remove the backing. And of course, I didn't dry fit, so watch this time. I'll have a big oops or something. Okay, so we're just going to move it over a little bit more. I've got it pushed right up to the top of my scoreboard. And I'm just going to slide it over, slide it down, and give it a good burnish. And happy with that. So I'll just give this all a good burnish, and then I'll again show you what I did there. So I'm just making sure that everything is flush. So the two pieces of chipboard are flush with each other, or as flush as possible. And again on this side, it looks nice and straight. It's a little wobbly because I don't have my reinforcement piece in. Yes, there are. Tammy does have some bone folders in the store, but they're not as big as this one. Yes, there is a cutting guide, Diane. I posted it in Country Craft Creations. I will post it on my YouTube channel in the guide. But yes, there is a cutting guide for this. All right, so the next piece we're going to work on is our reinforcement piece. It's our piece that's going to go right over that spine area, and that's what firms everything up and makes it not so wobbly. So I'll give you those measurements. Let's move the cover out of our way. So that spine piece measures 7 7/8 by 8 3/4. That's what it measures. Get rid of my sticker. And for just speeding up of things, I have already cut my score sheet. And once I get it, the cover, fold it back because I kind of started it. Okay, so I'm going to turn my scoreboard around because it'll be easier and my head won't be getting in the shot. So what I like to do, and I believe Tammy uses these words, it's just like doing wallpaper. So you're going to line it up with the top of your wall or as close as you can. And then you're just pulling the backing down to the bottom, like so. And if you have any overhang, we're going to take care of that, but let's give it a good burnish. Okay, we've got it burnished nicely. And I'm just going to look because I have a little bit hanging over here and I want to make sure that I push it back. So let's remove the backing, or just this part of the backing to start with. And sometimes you got to burnish it a little more. If it doesn't want to lift nicely, go back and burnish because it just means maybe you missed a spot. Because that does happen. There we go. There we are. Okay. So just let me fold it back just a little bit. I love the score sheets too, but when you have too much of the rolls, or you have too many rolls in different sizes because you used to use them a lot, when you find something else that works even better, meaning the art glitter glue, you have to use them up somehow. All right, so we're just gonna see something. Yes. So I just want to kind of go around and make sure that I don't have any edges. The difference between 3 and 4. You know what? I'm not sure, Jennifer. It might be size. I don't know. I'm sure Tanya's on that. Well, if you don't push the tape back, then it's going to pick up dirt. And that's the last thing you want to do, is for your project to be gungy looking, as I'm going to call it. Okay, so I'm just kind of doing a little dry fit here. And I want it covering that spine area and overlapping. And I'm going to be happy. So let's peel the backing off. And now I've got to hover here a little. Whoops, don't be setting it down, Bonnie. Got to hover here just a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit more that. There we go. Let's try this one more time. It's really hard when I can't see the top and the bottom, so I'm going to turn my whole project sideways here for a second. I'm still in the shot, so that's the most important thing. I think I'm going to be happy. And then I'm just dropping it down like so. You know what, Jennifer? I'm afraid to use white too. But I made the decision that when I cover this one, I'm not going to ink my edges because I will make a mess. So we burnished our reinforcement piece to the inside. And now I'm going to start asking my book to fold the way I want it to. And I have another bone folder that I like to use for this application. It's this one here, because it's a little bit, it's more like a knife, and I can get right down into it. You know what, Tanya? I'll try to remember to go and look at them and see if I know what the difference is. There's nothing in the comment or the description that says anything, is there, Tanya? For the bone folders? And then we're just going to look at things. I'm going to do some more burnishing. And remember, I haven't been in my craft room now for a few weeks, so there we go. You just got to find the right burnishing tool. Because what you want to do is you want to make sure that this reinforcement piece is actually adhering to the spine. I'm going to do this side too. You don't want to poke a hole through it. Like I say, I have several different burnishing tools because the descriptions are exactly the same. Okay, so it's maybe the length is different. Let's do this side again. And like I say, there's a little bit of extra time you take on your book now. It will make you happy down the road. I promise. we go. Now I'm happy. A little bit more on this side. And what I have found, the more you burnish in between where the spine and the covers meet, the better look you have on the outside of your book, because you want it to be flush. That's what you want. You want it to be flush with the spine. Oh, then I don't know, Tanya. All right, so we have got our book constructed. I'm going to set it aside because the next piece we're going to be working on is our hinge. And I did 5/8 of an inch gusset on the hinge. Well, Charlotte, I try to give you some hints as we're working along. And as you can see, I have several different bone folders in my arsenal here. And I usually use them all when I'm creating. So I'm just going to put my scissors aside for a few minutes and my small Timmy ruler. All right, I won't need these guys again because I really only use those two when I am doing the spine, attaching it to my cover. All right, so we're going to do some scoring. And so first I should need to tell you some measurements. So my piece of cardstock measures 7.5 by 9 1/8. That's the size of your spine. Everybody's quiet on Facebook. They're probably watching and trying to take notes. So we are going to score at 1/2, 1, and then we want our 5/8 of an inch gusset. So the easiest way to do that is to do this. Instead of going 1/2, 1, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and score. Then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and score. So that puts us at 1. Then for the 5/8, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and score. So, excuse me, if you're having trouble with those 5/8 or with those 8s, that's just another trick. Now I'm going to continue, but I'm going to give you the measurements. So our next score line after the 1 5/8 is 2 1/8, 2 5/8, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 7/8, which is 1 less than 5, 5 3/8, which is 1 less or 1 more than 1/4, 5 7/8, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, 8 1/8, and 8 5/8. And that is our scoring for our hinges. So you're making 6 hinges for this album. And today what I'm going to do is we are going to burnish them. And then we are going to use the adhesive. It does, Carolyn. And I just find that sometimes if I'm having a bad day, that the easiest thing to do is simply just start counting. Okay, stand them up. See, this is what I don't like about white paper. I don't know where I picked up this little bit of color, whether it's on my bone folder. Doesn't look like it is. But we're going to cover this with our pattern paper we're going to be putting in the gusset. Okay, so we want to go to the next 2 1/2-inch score lines. And we're going to fold them back on each other. And then we're going to take it and push it down to create your hinge. And you can burnish it. And then, like I say, stand it up. because we've got 3 going. Then we're going to our next 2 1/2 inch, and we want to fold on the score line that's in the middle of them. And that is another nice thing. If you do a gusset that's a little wider than your hinge, sometimes that makes it easy to know where you want to be folding. Oh, maybe that's what it is. I never thought of that, Jennifer, that it could be, maybe it is because there's a little bit of burgundy purple in my nails. Bet that is what it is. Yes, yes. Cutting guide is not something that designers have to create because they give you measurements as they're working. I write a cutting guide to hopefully help me for retreats to get my measurements right, because the more I write these, I feel the better I get at them. So let's go to the next 2 that are 1/2 inch. Thank you, Tanya. And I find it's easier to read my scratch. Typing is better than my scratch, so that I write with. You know what? I bet anything it's coming off of my nails. Oh well, it is what it is. But we're going to cover the gussets with paper anyway, so you're not going to see it. And you know what? It is a handmade item. You know what, Jennifer? It is like a recipe. And when you're adding all those 1/2 inches in there and that kind of thing, you can have a typo. Okay, so we're going to glue our hinges together. And I am using the art glitter glue. So I'm only going to add adhesive to the one side of my 1/2 inch hinge, trying to keep it away from the bottom or where you're folding over. Giving it a good burnish. Probably, maybe not. No, I just need to spread my glue around. Stand it up. Oh, Maria, this will stay recorded, so you're never late to a tutorial. So I try to keep my glue away from the outer edge of my hinge, if that makes sense. I'm folding it over. And I don't know what it is, but I find when I use the art glitter glue to create my hinge, I get a squarer hinge. I don't know. I find when I use the dry adhesive, sometimes my hinge is crooked. So that's another plus to use. And remember, we're only putting the glue on one side of that 1/2 inch tab or that 1/2 inch score line. I'll show you on the next one. And you want to burnish them well. So what I'm talking about is I'm putting the glue on one side of this 1/2 inch space that I created with my score lines, not on the 5/8, but on the 1/2 inch one. And then I just fold over the other side, give it a good burnish. Yes, Tanya does for retreats go through a cutting guide to just make sure we haven't made any typos or forgotten any instructions. And she does an amazing job at making sure that they are correct. I'll use my bigger one. Just going to give these 4 just a little burnish. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So again, we're adding adhesive to the 1/2 inch side. And then we're going to fold over the other part. Stand it up. And the last one. So there's our last one. I'm folding it over on itself. I'm going to give it a good furnish. All right, and there is our hinge, and we're going to work it a little bit here. That's what we need to be doing, because they have to fold both directions. And then fold back this way. Burnish again. And there we go. And I always like to make sure that my hinge is straight. So I lay it out on my scoreboard. And what I want to see is that I'm 3 3/3 at the top. I want to be as close to 3 3/4 at the bottom as I possibly can be. And that way I know that my hinge is straight before I put it in my album. So I'm going to bring my album back in. And in the original book, I did not put pattern paper behind my hinge. You certainly could if you wanted to. I decided that I wasn't for this particular project. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. And I'm almost thinking I'm going to change my mind here and maybe put down some pattern paper this time. So I'm actually not going to, because I don't really know what paper I'm going to cover this with. I think I have enough of that paper behind me, but I'm not 100% sure. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding my liquid glue to the back of my 5/8 inch gussets. So there's going to be glue added to 5 gussets. You have 6 pages or six hinges, but only 5 gussets. I'm being generous, but trying not to get too carried away with the glue. All right. So we're going to measure it top to bottom, side to side. Pretty happy with that. So I'm not going to do anything to monkey around with it. And I'm just rubbing my finger down between the hinges. And then I'm going to get my scoring or my Teflon bone folder. And you want to make sure that you're burnishing those gussets well. And usually what I do is I go one way and then I go the other way. So I turn it around. So what I mean is, so when I was burnishing it this way, I was making sure that I was getting right up to the edge of that hinge. So now that I'm going to turn it around, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting up to the side of the other hinge. And then here on the back, I'm getting right in there so that this hinge is going to adhere perfectly to the spine. And then we're going to take our big burnishing tool. And you could do it with the little burnishing tool. Let's go over them one at a time. And again, I'll say the more time and prep you put into this, the happier you're going to be at the end of your project. All right, so I just want to see which side I like better. I think I'm going to make this the top. And what I was looking at, how much room I left here and how much room I left down there, I don't think it actually matters. This hinge went in so nicely today. I'm pretty happy. Okay, so now we want to work on the pages, and the pages are all exactly the same. I cut 6 of them, and they measure 7.5 by 12, and on the 12-inch side, you score at 6. Tanya, you absolutely do. Make it easier for everyone. So we're going to fold on those score lines and burnish. And I'm going to repeat this 6 times. Now my plan is only to put 2 pockets in. I'll put a pocket on the front of the page, and I'll put a pocket on the back of the page. Let's keep going. And while you're folding, just keep an eye that they're nice and square at the raw edge side. One more. There we go. And I always start on my last page, so the back of the album. And what I do is I take my page and I lay it, just give me 1 second here. It seems like, there you go. What I want to do is I want to take my hinge or my page and butt it up right to the edge of the hinge. And then I usually fold it over for a dry fit, and I lay it down just to make sure that I'm going to be happy with everything I'm seeing. And I am. So then I'm going to open my hinge up. Now you can put the adhesive on the 1/2-inch tab. I know some of the designers actually put it on the base page, but I prefer to do it this way. Give it a slight burnish. And what I like to do is just make sure that everything is sealed nicely on this side. And then I usually like to fold it over and give my page a little turn to make sure that there's nothing going to keep my page from impeding or not folding properly. I'm adding a bit of adhesive at the bottom of my base page, and then I'm adding adhesive to the other side of the 1/2-inch tab, and I try to keep my adhesive up from the gusset, so that when I lay my base page over the other side of it, if I do have any glue, it's not going to make a mess. And I'm just seeing something I don't like, so that's the joy of art glitter glue. It wasn't quite straight, so I'm just going to fix that. There we go, that's better. There's one. So 1 page in our card organizer, and now I'm going to get my second one. And I should have been paying closer attention instead of doing so much talking. This page is a little skewed. So I'm just fixing it. There we go. Hang on, it needs more reinforcing. It's kind of saying, well, I really didn't want to fold like that. I wanted to fold the way I fold it. So we'll just make it fold the way we want it. Remember, paper's a fiber, as Tammy always says. So again, what we're doing here is we're lining it up. I always like to line my pages up with the right hand side. So now what I'm matching up to is, so my next page that's going in, I want to make sure that it's flush at the top and flush at the bottom. That's more important to me than whether I'm flush to my hinge. And that's what I find works for me. I'm sure other people do it a different way, but that's what works for me in my world. Okay, and let's give it a good burnish. And we'll check to make sure we have no glue. Good. Burnish it well. And I'm going to red glue along the bottom of the base page. And I'm going to run glue along the hinge. Oh, yes. And how is it going with the cleanup, Tiffany? It must be nice to think about that you're going to get to be at home now. Okay, liking that one. Let's do page 3. And again, what I'm checking is I'm making sure that my base pages are lining up on my right-hand side. Open. Add my glue to my hinge. I try to keep it to the top part of the hinge. Again, to try and prevent glue from making a mess. I totally get you, Tiffany. My husband's good. But yes, I've had to do a little cleanup since I've been home. But he's good. He did keep things fairly tidy while I was gone. All right, so now let's add the adhesive to the bottom of the base page. And to the hinge itself. I wish I could do this in a straight line. Never been lucky at that. All right, and whoops, hold on. Don't want to push the page down. That's what you've got to be careful of, is that you don't skew the page as you're putting it onto the hinge. And we're halfway done with our pages, and look how flat they lay. I love this hinge system. All right, so page 4. And again, we want to make sure that on our right-hand side, the page is nice and square. Add our adhesive. Keeping it high on the hinge. Like so. And then we're going to run adhesive at the bottom of the base page. And we're going to keep our adhesive on the hinge to the high side. And then fold and burnish. not skewing it like I just did again. All right, give it a good burnish. Oh, that's not good. That's why I like my little robot vacuum. Every day I knew my house was getting at least a spot clean. So again, we're on page 5, so we're making sure that it's flush with the top and the bottom on the right-hand side of the page. Opening it up, adding our adhesive to the hinge nice and high. And I do 2 rows of glue on hinges. Don't know why, it's just what I do. It's therapeutic, Tanya? I love that. Never thought I was therapeutic, but I'll take it. Thank you. That's a very kind thing to say. Well, I try hard. Okay, so we're going to add the glue to the bottom of our hinge. And over. Burnish. And turn. One more. Well, thank you. As long as I'm not boring, that's what the most important thing is. Because that's one of the things I enjoy about the lives is the interaction that I get to have. Yes, I hear that quite often. Oh, no, mine's pretty good. He can operate all of those tools. Just want to make sure that while I was talking, I wasn't happy there. Oops. We're going to start again with this one. I'm going to make sure that we're nice and square. We are. All right. So add the adhesive to the back of the hinge. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky. My husband can cook. I'm anything but boring. Oh, good. Thanks, Maria. My husband cooks, does laundry, mops floors, vacuums. Not a great duster, but you know what? I'm okay with that. Add the adhesive to the bottom of the base page and to the front of the hinge. And can you believe this? We've got all of our pages in our book. Yes, Tanya, I see that you're typing on both, because sometimes I'll go, oh, the comment's there on my face. So my phone has YouTube on it. My iPad has Facebook on it, and I'm trying to read both. Yes, so on Facebook, I'm live on my Facebook channel. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. And I'm also live in Scrapbookers, because not everybody does Facebook. So there are our 6 pages in our card organizer. And yeah, they're a little wonky right now, but they will all straighten up here as we move on. So the next thing we've got to do is we've got to make those accordion pockets that we're going to put into our card organizer. And like I said to you, I am going to do the front and the back of page 1, because then it's just, you're just repeating it. So I don't need to bore you with the other 10 pages. So just set this aside. So you need to cut 12 of these pockets that measure 3.5 by 8 7/8. And I'm just going to take 2, because I'll finish the others off screen. And I'm just going to talk about our scoring. So the first thing I did is I went on the 3.5-inch side. You know what, Diane? That is my biggest problem. Who wants to dust when you can be crafting? Exactly. All right, so get my stylus. So on the 3.5-inch side, we are scoring at 1/2. Then we are rotating it to the 8 7/8 inch side, and we are scoring at 1/2, 1, 1.5. Now, I want you to completely rotate your cardstock. So that would be 180, I think. Yeah, 180. And you're on the other side. It's still 8 7/8 across the top. And you're going to repeat it 1/2, 1. Sorry, let me start again. 1/2, 1, and 1.5. So we're going to fold on all these score lines. And I'm going to do 2 with you. So we're going to fold it back on itself. And then we're going to fold it out on itself. And I'll show you this again. Just let me get it scored and burnished. And then we're going to fold back. So what you want to have is it's looking like this, with your raw edge facing in. So when you're going to adhere this into your book, it's going to lay like so. So let's do the other side. So I'm working with the 1/2 inch or the 1 1/2 inch score line that's closest to the pocket itself. And then I'm folding the 1 inch score line out. And then I'm folding the 1/2 inch score line in. And so this is what you've got. And that's what's giving you your accordion. Now we've got to cut away some bulk. So let me get my scissors. Yes, I do say a few words, I'm told, that are said, or that we say just a slightly different here in Canada. So all I did is I'm cutting right along the edge of that score line. So I'm cutting actually to the left of the score line, because I want to cut that bulk out. And then when I get over here to this 1 1/2 inch score line, again, I'm just cutting out the bulk and going right up and meeting my other cut. So there we go. And then I'm just going to fold it back, and I'm going to give it ever such a slight miter. And I mean, like, just do a really slight miter. And then I'm taking my last 1/2 inch tab, and I'm going to just miter it slightly too. And that's optional. You can choose to do that one or not. And so let's do the other side. So again, I'm cutting to the left of this 1/2 inch tab, and I'm going right down to that 1 1/2 inch score line. Not going through it, just to it. And I'm going to turn this over, and I'm cutting out my bulk and the score line. Hope this makes sense. I'll hold it up so you can see it. Fold it over. Give my 1/2 inch tab that's on the bottom of the pocket just a slight miter. And then I'm just mitering the top of the last 1/2 inch tab. And so let me get these pieces out of the way. So this is what it should look like when we've got all our mitering done. I've done a slight miter on the bottom 1/2 inch tab, And on this very last 1/2 inch tab on both sides, I've also done a slight miter. And it's just to keep it from being in our way. And I just need to see what's going on. I have a score line here that seems like it's not as nice and neat as I'd want it to be. So I'm just going to move it with my hand, give it a good burnish, and look at it again. So what I had on this side is I could just see this last 1/2 inch tab, and I didn't want to see it. I wanted it to be nice and clean. And so I just gave it a little bit of, I just told the paper where I wanted it to be. Now, this is the thing with these pockets, is on the front of each page, I want my pocket to be right over here on the right-hand side of my base page. Yes, it does mean that I have a little bit of space over here by the hinge, but honestly, you don't see it once you have the pattern paper on. Unless I point it out to you in the book, you'd never notice that there's that little bit of a gusset. And if you don't keep it right to the outside edge of the page, you're not going to get those accordion pockets to lay nicely. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I'm going to give this a little bit more of a miter, because if you can see, it's kind of folding. So we want to get rid of that bulk. There we go. I am going to add my adhesive, like so. I'm just going to get a clip. My clips. Just going to let my clip hold it for a second because I need to give this one a little bit more of a haircut over here too. Like so. And we're going to, again, give it a little dab of glue. And you're just going to keep repeating this. You're going to do the same thing with all 12 pages. So you could do all your pockets at once and then go back and put them into your album. Like so. We'll just give it another second. I'm sure that's enough. All right. So again, like I said to you, I am putting my base page right over here to the right of the base page, and I'm not worrying about that. I have like a, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch on the hinge side. So we want to add our adhesive. And along the bottom. And up the other side. And remember, I made this album to fit A2. So those are cards that measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. We're giving it a good burnish. And you just have to train these pages to fold with these accordion pockets on the front of them. And there's your first accordion pocket. And you have enough room. Give me a second. So these 3 cards are popped up quite a bit. These cards I was playing with. And I could get 3 cords into my accordion pocket, and they would fit quite nicely. So remember, that's why we gave it a 5/8 inch gusset, because by the time you get these cards in here, you're going to be full. So let's pull them out and keep going, because we want to do the one that's on the back side, and it's exactly the same thing. So I'm going to move my book out of the way, and we're going to score and cut. So we're going to, on the 3.5 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2. Then we're going to rotate it to the 8 7/8 side, score at 1/2, 1, 1.5. Rotate it completely the other way, and you're going to score at 1/2, 1, and 1.5. We're going to fold on all those score lines, and make sure you rotate it, because remember, it's 8 7/8. If you were to, let's say, okay, we're going to score 1.5, 1, or 1/2, 1, and 1.5. And then you go and say, well, I can just go over here and I can score at 1/2, 8, and 8.5. It's not going to work because you're at 9 7/8. So the easiest thing to do is just to rotate it and work from the left-hand side and do your 1, 1.5, 1/2, 1, and 1.5. I can say those things. Ask me to say it 20 times. We'll see if I can do it. No, actually I can't. So burnish the score lines just like we did for the pockets on the front of the first page. And fold back. And fold forward. And this is a great time to make sure that you don't have any lap. And I do a little gain this one, so I'm just going to manually push over that score line. It happens. And you're not going to see any of that. And let's repeat. So we folded it back, folded it forward, and folded it back. So what you should have is, when you look at it like this, you should be able to see an M with a really long side on it, okay? And I have done accordion pockets where this mechanism is something you attach to the front of the pocket. But in this case, I decided to make it all one piece. So let's cut out our bulk. Again, staying to the left of the score line. So you can see what we cut out. And then go over here. I'm going to try and hold this up closer to the camera, so hopefully. And we're going to go up to that 1/2 inch score line, rotate, and we're staying to the right of the score line. Cut that out. Burnish a little bit, or miter it a little bit. Miter the last 1/2 inch tab on the side. And the same with this one. All right, and again, we're going to give it another burnish. Yeah. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see my accordion hanging out. So I don't want to see this last folded tab hanging out from in front of the pocket. So let's add some adhesive. Fold it up. Burnish. Add your paper or your clothes peg or a clip or whatever it is you have in your stash. Okay. Just give it a second to dry. Get your book back in here. Should be enough. And again, you want to make sure that this little pocket is to the left-hand side of the back of the base page. Not hanging over. Because it is a lot of bulk. And of course now it's not going to. It is a lot of bulk. And if I'm noticing here, I forgot to miter the tops of that flap, and that's okay. Your paper will still slide in over it. Your pattern paper. Again, I'm adhering it to the left-hand side of the base page, so I don't have anything too cumbersome on this side. And like I say, this doesn't bother me because by the time I have my pattern paper on it, you cannot see it. And if you made it any closer, they are going to bind as you try to turn the pages, just because it is that accordion little pocket. So there's the front of page 1 and the back of page 1. You can go through and do the other pages on your own. I'm so glad you hung with me for the almost 2 hours that this video took. We did a lot of talking, which was nice. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Scrapbookers or leave a comment in the YouTube post. And I will see you on my next tutorial. And remember, you need to like, you need to subscribe, and yeah, that's about all I have for you guys today. So I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. I know there's a few more videos to go today, and we will see you on my next live. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.